Until you apologize to your brother, you're suspended from the office. That's what my mother said. No hesitation, no shame, just that cold, clipped tone she always used when she thought she was being fair. I remember the way my brother Ryan leaned back in Dad's old office chair, spinning it slowly, pretending not to smirk. He didn't even have the decency to look up from his phone. He just said under his breath, "Guess some people were never meant for leadership." Hi everyone, my name is Ava Morgan and I learned the hard way that family can fire you faster than strangers ever could. That morning, sunlight cut through the blinds like knives. The air in the office felt heavy, filled with whispers, awkward glances, and that suffocating mix of pity and fear people wear when they know injustice is happening but won't speak up. I stood there, clutching my ID badge, watching my mother sign the suspension notice. Her pen didn't even tremble. "You've embarrassed this family enough," she said. "Ryan deserves respect. You'll come back once you remember your place." My place. That word echoed in my head long after I left the building. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I simply placed my badge on the glass desk and said softly, "All right." The silence that followed was sharp, like everyone was waiting for me to break. But I didn't. I walked out calmly, every step feeling heavier than the last, my heels clicking against the marble floor like a countdown. Outside, the air smelled of rain. I looked up at the gray sky and whispered to myself, "If they want me gone, fine. But when I return, I won't need permission to walk through that door." What they didn't know was that my suspension wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something far bigger, something that would make every single one of them regret the way they looked at me that day. Because by the next morning, I wasn't just gone. I had already started their undoing. That night, I didn't sleep. I just sat by the window watching city lights flicker like dying promises. The rain had stopped, but the silence inside my apartment was deafening. I kept replaying Mom's words, "Until you apologize to your brother," like a curse stitched into my chest. I wasn't angry. Not anymore. I was awake. On my desk lay a sealed brown envelope, the one I'd kept hidden for months, addressed from Harrison and Bloom LLP. My grandfather's attorneys. I hadn't opened it because I thought I didn't need to. But that night I did. Inside was a letter, written in my grandfather's shaky but deliberate handwriting. "If you're reading this, Ava, it means the company has turned into exactly what I feared. Remember, the shares under Morgan Enterprises Trust are yours, not theirs. Don't let blood blind your worth." I stared at those words for minutes that felt like hours. My hands trembled, not from fear but from realization. Everything they built, the office, the contracts, the empire, stood on my name. Ryan had always been the golden child, but he never read the fine print. And Mom, she never believed I was capable of strategy. That night I drafted a single email, quiet, precise, and devastating. Subject: Transfer Activation Request. It wasn't revenge yet. It was reclamation. And by morning my family's kingdom would have a new queen. Morning came with a strange stillness. I expected chaos and I wasn't disappointed. By 9:12 a.m. my phone buzzed with 5 missed calls from Mom and 3 from Ryan. I let them ring. At 9:15 a message arrived. "Ava, what did you do? The company accounts are frozen." I smiled faintly. Not because I wanted them to suffer, but because I finally saw the truth. They'd built their entire empire on a foundation that wasn't theirs. Every signature, every expansion, every new branch, all under the trust my grandfather created in my name. While they were busy mocking me for being too emotional for business, I'd quietly been learning everything. I memorized board protocols, asset trails, and power of attorney clauses. And when Mom suspended me, she unknowingly gave me the space I needed to pull the one string that held everything together. The finance director must have realized it by now, that without my digital authorization, every transaction was locked. Payroll, suppliers, bonuses, frozen solid. Ryan called again. This time his voice cracked on voicemail. "Ava, please call me back. Mom's losing it. We just need to talk." But after years of silence, I'd given them my loyalty once. They mistook it for weakness. Now all I gave them was quiet. And in that quiet, their world began to collapse. By noon, I was already sitting inside a black car parked across from Morgan Enterprises. The glass windows of the building looked different now, less like home, more like the cage they once kept me in. Inside, I could almost picture the panic. Board members whispering, Mom pacing near the conference table, Ryan sweating through his expensive suit. They'd never experienced a real crisis before, not one they couldn't buy their way out of. My phone vibrated again. This time it was an unknown number. I answered. Ava Morgan, a calm male voice said. This is Charles from the board. I've just reviewed the trust documents. We need to meet, immediately. There was the first crack in their golden image. When I entered the boardroom an hour later, the room fell silent. Ryan's face turned pale and Mom's lips tightened like she'd swallowed her pride whole. Charles cleared his throat. It appears, Mrs. Morgan, that Ava holds 51% of the company under her grandfather's trust. Without her signature, no decision is legally binding. The silence that followed was delicious. Mom's hand trembled as she said, Ava, sweetheart, this must be a mistake. I looked her dead in the eye. No mistake, Mom. Just math. Ryan tried to stand but his voice cracked. You can't just take it all. I leaned forward slightly. I'm not taking anything. I'm simply reclaiming what was mine all along. And just like that, the storm had begun. By evening, the office lights glowed like interrogation lamps through the glass. I sat quietly in the CEO's chair, my grandfather's chair, as the legal team finalized what my mother had unknowingly triggered. Ryan had been using company funds for personal luxuries. A $70,000 car, a penthouse under the firm's name, even vacation bills masked as client entertainment. I didn't expose it all at once. I simply handed over the files to the board and let silence do the rest. By the time Mom realized what was happening, 2 auditors had already sealed Ryan's office. His access cards were revoked. The car keys she gifted him? Returned to the company fleet. I didn't shout. I didn't gloat. I just watched. Every smirk, every insult, every "you'll never make it" she'd thrown at me, it echoed in that silence. Mom's voice finally broke through. Ava, please, don't do this to your own family. I looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time in years. You did this, Mom. You just didn't think I'd ever fight back. Security escorted Ryan out that night. His face was pale, eyes hollow, and for once he didn't look like the golden child. He looked like what he was. A man who'd lost everything he never truly earned. Outside the wind was cold. But for the first time I could breathe. 2 days later I got the call I knew would come. Mom's name flashed on my screen. I almost didn't answer, but something in me wanted closure. Her voice trembled the moment I said hello. Ava, they're talking about removing me from the board. You don't understand this company, it's our legacy. I looked out the window at the skyline, the same city she once said was too tough for a girl like you. Correction, I said quietly. It's my legacy now. There was a long pause. Then softer she whispered, I just wanted to protect Ryan. He's your brother. I closed my eyes. You protected him from consequences, not from failure. And that's why he never learned to stand. I heard a muffled sob, but I didn't let it sway me. Years of dismissal had hardened me more than I realized. Before she hung up, she said something I'll never forget. Your grandfather warned me this day would come. I just never thought it'd be my own daughter who'd bring it. After the call, I sat in silence, not proud, not victorious, just still. Because revenge doesn't roar. It whispers. I forwarded one last email to the board. Effective immediately, Morgan Enterprises will transition under new management. That night the city lights looked different, like they finally saw me. And for the first time I wasn't the forgotten daughter anymore. I was the name on every door. The final board meeting felt like the closing scene of a movie I'd watched too many times. The same long table, the same leather chairs. Only this time I sat at the head. Ryan was there, eyes hollow, suit wrinkled. Mom beside him, hands folded, face pale. She didn't look like the woman who once dictated my every move. She looked smaller now, fragile, almost human. Charles from the board cleared his throat. Before we begin, there's one final matter. The company's new direction under Ms. Ava Morgan. Every gaze turned toward me. I took a slow breath. When I was suspended, you all watched, I began. No one questioned it. That silence taught me more about loyalty than words ever could. Mom's eyes glistened, but I didn't stop. I don't seek revenge. I seek restoration. From today onward, every decision will be merit-based. No favoritism. No golden children. Ryan muttered. You think you're better than us? I looked at him calmly. No. Just wiser. I signed the final document transferring full control to my name, a gesture of quiet power. As the meeting ended, Mom whispered, "Ava, please, what happens to us now?" I stood gathering my papers. What happens now? You live with what you created. Then I walked out, heels echoing through the marble hallway that once carried my humiliation. Only this time it carried something else. Peace. A week later, the office was quieter than ever. No gossip, no forced smiles, just the soft hum of work returning to order. I walked through the halls that once echoed with whispers about me, and for the first time, no one dared to look away. In my new office, the one that used to belong to my mother, sunlight poured across the desk, hitting the brass nameplate that now read, Ava Morgan. I ran my fingers over the letters. It didn't feel like victory. It felt like closure. Ryan had moved out of the penthouse, selling his car to cover debts. Mom resigned quietly the following morning, leaving a note on my desk that said, "I never knew how strong you were until you stopped trying to prove it." I didn't cry. I just sat there for a while, listening to the silence. The same silence that once haunted me now felt like home. People think revenge is about destruction. But it's not. It's about balance. About finally standing where you were once forced to kneel. Before leaving that evening, I turned off the lights, looked out at the city and whispered, "You suspended me to teach me humility. But all you taught me was how to rebuild." Then I locked the door, calm, unshaken, untouchable. Because this time the silence didn't hurt. It obeyed me.